Enough about fantasy, superheroes, and sci-fi movies. If you have managed to avoid all Deadpool and Wolverine spoilers and click on this video, then you are about to get inspired by this amazing story. This story is based on a real-life figure who is a voyager, a survivalist and explorer. Before moving ahead, be sure to like and subscribe for more movies like this. Also support us on our Patreon. Let's start with today's movie called Lord of the Wind, and not Lord of the Ring. Year is 2014, and we are in Australia. We see an old man driving his boat. His name is Fedor. He is a real person. There is a big storm and he sees a huge tide in front of him. Some guys from the control room are tracking his location. One guy advises Oscar to send a rescue team for him, but it is too risky since there is a big storm. In a flashback in 1961, we see a younger version of Fedor, living in a small village. He sees a giant storm appear towards him and everyone in the village starts running. Upon remembering this moment, Fedor decides to face the storm by going against the tide. He turns his boat and hits the tide. People in the control room lose their signal for some time, but they see him again. After the storm is cleared, they rescue Fedor. His family is there and some people are trying to interview him. In the next scene, we see young Fedor drawing balloons, showing his passion about flying and crossing the sea in the storm. In the present, he wakes up in the hospital where the doctor does a CT scan. We learn that Oscar is the son of Fedor. In the flashback, we get to know about Fedor's relationship with his father, which was not that good since he was not happy about Fedor's plan to cross the sea. He gets scolded by his father who breaks his boat. That night, Fedor's mother brings him food in the barn, but he takes a boat and flees towards the sea. When he comes back, his father yells at him saying that he only thinks about himself. He puts him in boarding school. In 2014 in Moscow, Fedor explains his plan to a guy named Rakitin, who is an investor. 12 years ago, an American was able to travel around the globe in 13 days. Technology has changed since then, and Fedor assures that he can do it in 10 days now. Rakitin doesn't agree with their plan, but Fedor reminds him about marketing they will be doing for his company with their company's logo on the balloon. Rakitin, on the other hand, has his own story. He drinks that night and talks to a photo of his daughter. She is no more now, but we will get more of his story later. Fedor has kids and a wife. He asks his wife to fly with him, but she refuses. Next day, while flying kites with his kids, he gets a call from Rakitin. He is now on board with this mission. All the family gets together and celebrates this good news. 2 years later, means in 2016. News anchor shows the cockpit in which Fedor is planning to spend 10 days. With a speed of 60 to 200 kilometers per hour and 80% above the oceans, he intends to complete this journey. Fedor looks at the incoming storm and asks everyone to prepare for takeoff. Before onboarding into the cockpit, he goes for a run where he remembers his grandfather. While running, suddenly his chest starts paining and he falls down. Later, Oscar arrives and gives him water. He advises Fedor not to go with this journey. He was afraid he would lose him again like he did 2 years ago. But Fedor tells him that he is preparing for this moment his whole life and he has to do it. After all this family drama, the exciting day finally arrives. They are preparing a burner and air balloon with helium gas. They start filling the balloon. In the morning, Fedor says goodbye to his wife and son. He gets into the cockpit and puts photos of his wife and kids on the wall. He starts the burner and finally lifts off. He gets in the air on his first day, which is July 12, 2016. There are some really beautiful shots in the movie. He finally arrives above the cloud and confirms his position with the control room via radio. He wears the oxygen mask and spends his time drawing. While in the air, he also maintains a burner by cleaning it from time to time. He flies above the city, he flies besides the moon. Seriously, hats off to the cameramen who are capturing these shots. On the fourth day, we can see that he completed 7,000 kilometers and he is above the Pacific Ocean. He feels some turbulence. Not sure if it is the right term to use, but I am going to use it anyway. He is traveling through the clouds and struggling to make his food. He gets a call from the control room where his son is there. He talks to his son while fixing the burner outside the cockpit. Nikita, who is the guy in the control room, asks his son to wait outside. After he leaves, Fedor tells Nikita that he is facing some turbulence issues. His son arrives to get his Lego Gandalf action figure. I think this was the Lord of the Ring Easter egg they added in the movie. Later, Nikita advises him to lower his altitude since there is rain and storm in the Pacific Ocean. Fedor listens to him and goes outside to shut off his burners. His balloon starts descending slowly. Fedor's wife meets Rakitin, who is worried about this mission now. He shares his story. He lost his daughter the previous year. She used to like traveling. His wife left him after this incident. Fedor's son is on his way to Moscow. He gets a call from Nikita. He informs him that due to the storm, Fedor's balloon is going to travel above Uruguay, but they don't have an overflight permit. If they don't take permission, then the military will destroy his balloon. It is the 6th day and Fedor has traveled 18,000 kilometers. He gives all of his stats to the control room. Nikita informs him about the situation they are facing with Uruguay. He ensures him that they are working on it, but Fedor is going to face another crisis now. One of the cylinders starts licking and now the cockpit's temperature starts dropping. Fedor struggles to breathe, but he manages to use a backup tank. He informs this to the control room. Nikita advises him to increase the temperature by starting the oven outside. Fedor gets outside and starts the oven. Meanwhile, his son reaches the Uruguay embassy to get their flying permit, but they didn't allow him inside and asked him to come on Monday. 7 days have passed and Fedor is now in South America with 20,000 kilometers complete. He is cleaning the burner as usual. Nikita suggests he take another route to avoid flying over Uruguay, but Fedor denies it because it will slow down his journey. When he asks about the flying permit, Nikita tells him that his son Oscar is looking into it. Fedor gets emotional hearing this. The next challenge for him is to face a giant storm with 5 pillars in front of him. Due to the storm, he has to take a slightly different route, which impacts his journey by half day. But Fedor has a plan. He is going to drop all empty containers so his balloon will be lighter. Doing so, he managed to get out of the storm. Just look at the clouds. They are magnificent. He holds a wrench in his hand and sleeps. On the other hand, Oscar is still trying to get a flying permit for his father. Later, Nikita observes a sudden drop in altitude. He tries to contact Fedor, but he is asleep. Fedor wakes up as his wrench falls on a metal bowl. Nikita tells him that he is going to crash. Fedor gets outside and tries to break ice from his burners and starts them. But suddenly he fell down from the balloon and hung upside down. He manages to get up. The actual reason his balloon is going down is the ice that is formed on top of his balloon. His younger son is also on the call. Fedor talks to his son, holding tight as he is about to hit the ground. He goes through the mountains, but while going down his balloon gets hit by nearby rocks and ice starts falling down, with very little time left to reach on the ground. All of the ice goes away and the balloon starts floating in the air again. Everyone celebrates as Fedor starts his journey again. Later, Nikita gets a call from Oscar. He calls Fedor to give him good news about his flying permit in Uruguay. Everyone on the news talks about his great adventure. He finally passes Uruguay and heads towards his final destination, Australia, from where he started his journey 10 days ago. Everyone on the news wishes him good luck. His wife and son are waiting for him in Australia. But before reaching his final location, there is one more giant storm that he is going to face. Nikita gives him only one option. That is to get down and survive this storm. By doing this, he will run out of fuel and he will not be able to complete his journey. Fedor disagrees with them. This is Fedor's balloon and this giant storm. Just look at the size of it. Everyone is thinking what to do in this situation. But Oscar's arrived to save the day. He asks his dad to drop everything heavy and go above the giant cyclone. He has already faced many cyclones and this is nothing to him. By getting motivation from his son, he starts throwing everything to complete the final part of his journey. He drops his cylinders and makes the balloon lighter. In the end, he manages to go above the cyclone. But as a result, his cockpit starts facing some difficulties. One of his stove broke and temperature starts dropping. Temperature is -40 and his cockpit cannot handle it. Everything starts freezing and Fedor sits in the corner hoping to complete his journey. His son is calling but Fedor is not responding. Okay, now he wakes up. Fedor gets outside to get some heat from his burners. In the distance, he sees clouds everywhere. Suddenly, his burners started shutting down. As a result, his balloon goes straight down in the cyclone. He tries to start the burners again but doesn't work. He takes lighter from cockpit and start them. They burn for a while but everything gets shut down again. There is no hope left and Fedor goes down in the cyclone. He is talking to his son. Oscar starts crying as Fedor's balloon goes down. After this, Fedor is still there in the cockpit. He sees his old grandfather. He motivates him to finish his journey. He also remembers moments from his childhood, how he faced the storm and survived. Just like in the beginning of the movie, Fedor wakes up and decides to go out again. As he is going through the storm, this happens. They finally receive a signal from the cockpit. Oscar talks to his dad again, but fuel is very low, but he will be able to complete his journey. On day 11, he finally reaches Australia by completing a journey of 35,000 kilometers. Everyone on the news is talking about him. Everyone takes a car and helicopter to get to the location where Fedor is going to land. Fedor releases rope. One guy holds the rope and ties it to his car. Cockpit finally drops on the ground. Oscar helps Fedor to get out and he reunites with his family. Rakuten goes into the cockpit and gets a photo of his daughter as a tribute to her memory. Everyone is happy seeing everyone. Movie ends with Fedor spending some quality time with family at his home. But wait, what is this? This is not the end. After 2 years only in 2018, Fedor went on another solo journey from New Zealand to Cape Horn. This guy really has some heavy steel metal gigantic ball. Anyways, we see some real footage at the end of the movie. It shows that nothing is impossible and humanity can do anything if they decide to do it. Very inspiring. That's all for today. Leave a like and subscribe to the channel for more movies like this.